Hello, everyone. In this week's module, we're going to continue our discussion about sustainability. What is it and how to incorporate it in our buildings? And then we'll talk about individual energy sources, renewable and non-renewable. Last week, we introduced this quote that sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. There's several different approaches to describing or categorizing sustainable design. You might have heard of the triple bottom line. The one that your textbook uses is the four R's: reduce, reuse, recycle, and a little bit unusual, but they include regenerate. So let's go into a little more detail about these. In the reduce category, the focus is on reducing the operating energy required by buildings. And we're going to be talking a lot about that this semester. All right. There is also the possibility of reducing the embodied energy that's required to build new buildings. And to do that, we use life cycle analysis and choose materials, building materials, with the lowest environmental impact. Moving on to the reuse category, in development and building construction, that means remodeling, renovating, or adaptive reuse of existing buildings. It's always better to reuse what you already have than to build new. Also, if you're going to um, demolish, you might as well use deconstruction, which is a careful demolish procedure, and then reuse building components such as windows, doors, or individual units like bricks. Moving into the recycle category, again, if you're going to do this deconstruction or careful demolition of buildings, you can recycle building components such as concrete, steel, lumber, etc. How is this different than reuse? These items are broken down and reformed or reconfigured into new products. All right, so it's not like you're taking the same individual window. Instead, you're taking the steel, you're melting it down, reforming it into a new product. That counts as the recycle category. And also under this category is the selection of materials for your project that have recycled content. Finally, your textbook ends up with the regenerate category. We live in an earth that people have been living in for millennia and have often damaged or polluted the earth. And so part of our sustainable design approach is to restore, renew, and revitalize any damaged earth. So using this approach, which of these different categories is the most important? It turns out there is a hierarchy, and your book gives you this option here, this triangle. And so reduce is always your best or your first option that you should choose. Reuse is next. Recycle is the next best, all right? And then if you still can't reduce, reuse, or recycle, you can recover some energy from your waste, or you can, your worst option, of course, dispose of any waste. There are so many sustainable design priorities. Is it better to create a community and space for people to gather, or is it better to save wetlands, or is it better to reduce energy use in any particular building project or building site? It's hard to pick. How do you choose your priorities? Well, according to this article, Establishing Priorities with Green Building, which is quoted in your textbook, and I've also placed the article for you to read in your module, all right, after this lecture. Um, they have ranked or categorized or prioritized these different issues. And so, if you can, you should address the top ones, the most important ones first. It's also important to evaluate your specific site because maybe for your particular site, there is one of these issues that pops up to the top. All right, so here is a generic prioritization. And interestingly enough, the top item is to save energy by designing and building energy efficient buildings. Surprise, surprise, we're talking about this because that's what this entire course is about. All right. Here is another set of sustainable design goals. If you compare the two, this slide with the last slide, you'll see that there is a lot of overlap. That's not surprising. All right, but this is leading us right into our discussion of the LEED system. So the LEED system has goals, and they include reducing contribution to global climate change. And by by the way, that one is directly tied to saving energy and using less energy, enhancing human health, protect and restore water resources, protect and enhance biodiversity and ecosystem, and promote sustainable materials, build a green economy, and enhance community quality of life. So let's talk about the LEED program. You may have heard the name, but we'll go into a little bit more detail. LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. It's an acronym. And it's a set of rating systems for buildings, for the design, construction, operation, and maintenance of green buildings, also homes and neighborhoods. There have been various updates of this rating system, and LEED version 4 is the current. Within this rating system, there are different project types. So maybe your project is a new building, or maybe it's an entire neighborhood. Those would have different priorities, different goals, different criteria. So they've set up these 5 rating systems for the different project types, and they are building design and construction. It's kind of your overall new building category. Interior design and construction, operations and maintenance. This is for existing buildings that are just wanting to improve their maintenance categories, homes, and neighborhood development. Once you have determined the appropriate category for your projects, there will be a checklist with a number of different certification points that your project can earn. Right? The number of points your project earns determines the level of certification that it can receive. And there are 4 levels: certified, silver, gold, and platinum. Those points that you can earn are organized into credit categories. And within each credit category, there are prerequisite points, which means points that a project must have in order to proceed. And there are optional points. And so you need to hit all of the prerequisites first and then move into the optional points in order to earn your LEED rating. In addition to the LEED project certification program, LEED also offers professional credentials. And these are for people, right? These are for green building professionals, and in order to maintain and advance their knowledge and their expertise. And there are 3 tiers in this professional credentialing program. There's LEED Green Associate, that's kind of the lowest tier for general green building knowledge. And then the next tier is called LEED AP with a specialty. And so those are in the 5 different project categories. You would study and take the exam for an individual project category. And finally, the highest tier for expert knowledge is a LEED Fellow. All right, everybody, we've discussed sustainability, what it is, some different approaches, how to choose your priorities, and then we went over the LEAD program. In the next video, we're going to be talking about renewable versus non-renewable energy sources and go into some details about them.